Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. I hope that you are all well. I have been guided to come on to talk to you about the energies at the moment, and also in particular relationships and karma. So as you know, I'm Olwen Jennings of olwenjennings.com. I'm a channel coach and healer, and I use my spirit guides to help my clients to find out exactly what it is they want in their lives and help them find their true path and their true purpose. Many of you won't know that I used to be a divorce lawyer, and in that role I was obviously looking after clients who were going through a very difficult time in their lives, because divorce, whether you want it or not, is a very tricky path to navigate. One of the things I really used to enjoy in the job, though, was making a difference to the client and noticing that with my ability to listen, like really listen, and obviously my ability to advise them within the legal system, more often than not, my clients came through the process stronger and more confident. It taught me a lot about people's relationships and what sometimes was expected within relationships depending on their situation. And I used to really enjoy seeing the transformation a lot of clients went through. I always knew that, particularly when the female clients were feeling better, they'd have a change of outfit, or as in a change of dressing style, and maybe a new hairdo or something. So that was me helping in a very, I guess, corporate stage maybe, and I did enjoy it, and it brought me a lot of pleasure to help these people. But of course, I was constricted because I couldn't sit with the clients for a long time and talk to them about what was really going on and getting to the root of why they were where they were, because my job was to help them with the legal process. But I know that a lot of the times the client came to me because they knew I would listen. And because I am a good listener and an empath, I guess they felt they could trust me and I would understand them on a different level. And I guess I'm telling you this because I was wondering, how do I explain to people how I went from divorce lawyer to now a spiritual teacher, a coach, a channel, a healer, whatever you want to call it. But I guess that's always been in me. It's just that it became more and more important to me to do more of that in a very real way, rather than within the constraints of what the legal system would allow me to do. Anyway, you will have heard from me and from many other light workers and people in my line of work that the way the world works is changing in terms of energy, and that we are really being asked to look within ourselves by the universe, look within ourselves to see what it is that's really going on, what it is we can do to stop us being stuck in a cycle that no longer suits us. And this ties in quite well with relationships, because relationships can be really tricky. And it's not necessarily just the relationship with your other half. It could be the relationship with your parents, it could be the relationships with your children, and perhaps even more importantly, the relationship with yourself. And I don't know if you've noticed, but quite often we carry a lot of beliefs and conditioning from our own family. And it might not be things that we've created ourselves. And we carry those through family lines. And this means that we are still being conditioned by beliefs that perhaps our parents or grandparents held many, many years ago. For example, and I know there are many more examples, but I know that my parents and their parents always believed that the woman's place was in the home, and that she should, do everything to look after her husband or partner and children, almost to the expense of herself. And I know that a lot of us women still struggle with that. A lot of us still struggle with what our role is within our own family, within our own relationship with our other half, and within our own relationship with our children. And quite often we become the main carer of everybody, and we forget about ourselves. I'm not saying that there's anything really wrong with caring for your husband or your partner or your significant other, and of course your children. But what can happen is that we forget to look after ourselves and what we really want. And if you're an empath and a sensitive like me, you often agree with things that are going on in your family situation, even though deep down you don't agree. So it's like trying to keep the peace. And again, occasionally that's okay, because occasionally that's the easier thing to do. But when you are constantly saying yes when you mean no, or constantly compromising as to what it is you want within your life, then you can become a little bit resentful. Also, I've noticed within relationships that if you're a worrier, you can and an empath and a sensitive, or there are many other terms we can use. We often take on the worries and problems of other people, and that's particularly the case in a close relationship. And again, yes, it's human nature, but what does that do? Does that really help us within our own life path? I'm not sure that it does, because we can't solve everybody's problems, and what happens is we end up carrying the weight of not only our own problems and issues, but the weight and problems of everybody else's on our shoulders, and we feel that we are responsible for everything that goes wrong. And quite often, well, nearly always, we are not. So that's the kind of thing I've been thinking about lately, and I was guided to draw a card, generally in relation to the energies that are going on at the moment, particularly relationships. I do attract a lot of clients going through divorce in this work, probably because of the work I used to do before. And, it's nearly always the case that they've stopped talking to each other. They've stopped explaining to each other what it is they need within that relationship. One of them has almost become subservient in a way to the other, and then they wake up one day and realize, where has my life gone? Also, there's relationships with parents that are quite tricky sometimes, where we feel that we're responsible for them and their feelings as well. And quite often, as I said before, we're carrying a lot of their beliefs and conditioning. So it all gets very muddled. We really forget who we are, what we believe in, and what we're trying to achieve. And what the energies of the universe, if you like, have been showing us lately, is that we need to work on these issues. We need to rid ourselves as much as possible of the problems that aren't truly ours, so that we can be lighter in ourselves, so that we can have more fun, so that we can hold the light that this planet needs, and give responsibility back to those people that we have taken the responsibility from. Because in fact, by trying to solve everybody's problems, you're really removing their power to try and sort themselves out. I hope this is making sense. So anyway, the card that I pulled was from Cal Gray's Keepers of the Light, and it sent Saint Germain, karma releasing. And he's asking us to move beyond drama, create your own path, and make room for good energy. And what he means by that is we need to move away from drama and the karma of the conditioning that has been placed upon us, or we have absorbed over the years. We need to start realizing that, yes, we're human, but ultimately we are spiritual, and we have so many gifts that are available to us, and that we need to start using them so that we can live our lives in the best way, not just for us, not just for ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a way that fulfills us, so that we can then show the way for others as well. Because putting somebody else first is just failing to look after yourself. And quite often us people pleasers hide behind that so that we don't have to sort our own issues out. And we can get involved in drama. You know, in the past I've loved getting involved in lots of drama, but it hasn't done me any good. So it's time to work on, do the inner work, find out, you know, are your beliefs really yours? Why are you where you are? So, you know, the other day I had a client, well, the other week I had a client who was going through a divorce, and we realised that she'd been giving away a lot of her power, if you like, to her husband, in that she was just allowing him to behave in a certain way, and she was allowing him to make decisions for her that really weren't right for her. And, you know, on a very basic level, you could say, well, what was he doing all of that? And, you know, how dare he? But actually, you know, she was allowing him, and she knew that, really. She was allowing him, she thought, for all the right reasons. But what it meant was she'd lost quite a bit of herself and what she needed to function. And, you know, I'm very proud of the work that I do, because in a session or a few sessions with me, you know, you can really get to the bottom of those types of issues. My guides come through and find out why it is you're in the situation you're in. It doesn't have to be relationships, but of course I'm talking about relationships at the moment, and really looking at, you know, what it is you need to do to heal that. Maybe a repeating pattern of behavior, maybe a repeating pattern of saying yes, okay, when you really mean no, on a very basic level. Why is that? Where does that sit in your body? Have you learnt that from a family member? Have you learnt that just from conditioning from society? Who knows? But if it doesn't sit right and you're feeling that you're not on the right path, then it's not the right thing for you to be doing. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go and get divorced from their husbands if they don't agree with them, or their wives. I'm just saying that there is a better way of trying to work on your inner self, so that you can then know what it is you want, know what you're trying to create, and then you can start to work with the people around you to create a better way of being. So yes, karma can be inherited from our family. Sometimes it can actually be inherited from the people we're trying to help all the time, because as I said before, we end up carrying their problems on our shoulders as well. So one of my programs that's available at the moment is all about releasing your inner goddess and reinventing yourself. And one of the projects, one of the programs, one of the modules, if you like, sorry, I'm getting all confused, looks at relationships, and it looks at all your relationships, not just with your significant other, but with family, with friends, with work colleagues, with yourself, which is ultimately the most important relationship. It looks at many other things, but one of those is relationships. So I will post the details of that, because it's for women who really want to reinvent themselves and find a different way of living from the heart, using intuition and guidance more in everyday life, but more importantly than that, getting to know themselves again. Thanks, Linda. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for your comments. Oh, hi, Karen. I didn't realise you were there. I hope you're all right. So that's that. If that program is too big, if it's not something where, because it looks at all different elements of your life, then we can look at relationships within my 3 session package, which is what the client I mentioned did. And as well as looking at the blocks within those sessions, we also do some healing to clear them, because I'm a healer as well. I'm trained as a Reiki master teacher, but ultimately it is my guides that come through me to do the healing, and the healing is actually really powerful. Sometimes we go in and do inner child work, because again, that's another element to relationships. It can be your relationship with your inner child. Often there's been things happened when you were a child that you don't realize are still there and still need to be dealt with. And why am I going on about all of this? It's because this is what we have been shown over the last probably year, actually, definitely the last 6 months. If we don't start dealing with what keeps coming around, going round and going round within our own lives, within our own thought patterns, then we're going to get the same crap, basically. We are going to create the same life. So unless we really work on what it is that's stopping us from creating a better life for ourselves by really looking within, then we're not going to change anything. And it's worth it, because for those of us who like to look after everybody else, when you work on yourself, you're working on future generations within your own family line, but you're also working on the collective, because we are all one. So the healing and the work that you do on yourself will be helping others too. Thank you, Karen. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm sorry if I'm waffling. It's just becoming more and more apparent to me that we can't expect anything to be right, including our relationships, if we don't know ourselves truly. It takes time to get there, but I've done all the work. I know what it takes to get there, and you don't need to do it on your own. I'm here, I can help you. And as I said, I've got quite a few programs where you can do that. If you're just intrigued as to how it all works, you could just have one session with me and my guides. Perhaps wouldn't get as much healing within that, but maybe you will. It just depends on what you're looking for. For the month of May, that's still reduced at £60. So if you just want a one-off session, book it by the end of May. You don't need to take your session in May, and that's £60. If you want to work with me more deeply, then I recommend that you book onto the three coaching session packages, because then we really can get to the root of what's going on for you within certainly one area of your life, maybe even two. But if you want complete transformation, then my bigger package is probably more appropriate for you, because we're looking at all elements of your life. And then we bring in what it is you want to create. So you do end up reinventing yourself. So message me. We can arrange a call. Absolutely no obligation to do anything. But if you want to chat about what might work for you, then message me and we will chat. And we'll see if we're a fit to work together, and we'll see which program might suit you. But in the meantime, work on yourself, look after yourselves. It's time to release karma and move away from the drama. And I can't actually believe that's what this card says. Move beyond drama, create your own path, and make room for good energy. And by healing yourself, you're healing future generations and the collective, because we are all one. Something to think about. Thank you very much for those that joined me on the live. I really appreciate it. Thank you to those of you who are watching the replay. I would love your comments on this. And I hope that some of it, if not all of it, maybe all of it, has made sense. Bye. Lots of love. Take care.